Hey Henry, what's up? How are you?
Hi, Nia. Thank you very much for having me. Very well, thanks. Very well. Coming to you from wonderful Switzerland. Very much indeed enjoying it.
I'm
How are
very
things?
curious. A lot of people are watching us are very curious about what you're doing, what you're leading. Before we dive into the product, the vision, and all the questions that I have for you, I want to
Mhm.
know about you. Like, what did you do before? Give us a little bit of a background.
Well, this is the fun one a lot of people say about me. I'm 24, so there isn't a huge piece of history for me. But I was formerly a wealth manager over here in Switzerland with a small firm here for high net worth entrepreneurs and expats based in Switzerland. But I'd been privately interested in investing in the space of crypto with what was left of university beer tokens from back in 2015. From that, I left my first wealth manager to assist high net worth clients in Switzerland in understanding the world of crypto, both in holding crypto assets, understanding early stage crypto placements. First company called Cryptonox. We spanned that up into our first own product of volatility reduction called a blockchain operated structured note that allowed people to invest in crypto with a downside protection hedge with only a performance cap in place for us to retain earnings. I sold that off late 2018 now, late 2018. Came back to see a good friend of mine, and that's when we had the good old idea of reinventing the entire world of private banking, not just one alternate section.
Wow. And so what is private banking from your perspective? You've dealt with so many different high net worth individuals and stuff that you did. What do they want? What do they need?
Now, the world of private banking is significantly different to the world of retail banking. Of course, when you deal with companies out there like Monzo and Revolut, who obviously have great products out there, you're dealing with the mass market concerns. You're dealing with, you want to monitor your bills, you want to look after your basic finances, check the ins and outs. But don't get me wrong, it's not hugely different to the world of private banking. The world of private banking, of course, developed in 14th century Italy, dealing with high net worth families, generally from an entrepreneurial background, to assist them in both their private finances and some of their business interests. Now, of course, it's slowly updated, but it hasn't moved much forward since. But if you actually look at this next generation of clients, which is what a lot of private banks have failed to do here, they want many of the similar things that the world of, well, the typical consumer of a neobank would want also. They want digital clarity. They want something in the palm of their hands that's easy to use, and they want low fees. Naturally, across the board, private banks have had a compression, but nowhere near what's happened to retail banking. Now, for us, the kind of heat and the kind of pressure that Revolut, Monzo, and their competitors have put on the world of retail banking, we want to take to the actual scale in banking. Because the fun thing about banking right now, we'll talk to, say, Revolut, Monzo, who've obviously got an incredible product and they're scaling incredibly well, yet 60% of all deposits across all banks are made by less than 10% of depositors. So when people tell me about scale and they talk about millions of users, okay, it's nice. What's your balance sheet? That's the question for me. That's what banks look for. Now, for me, that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to cater to this higher class of individuals. So for that, we cater with them the obvious simple basics of an easy to use current account, see visible in the palm of their hand with integrated analytics for their income and outgoings as well. We add into that a simple robo-advisor as well for passive allocation to a broad set of funds from a great set of investment advisors as well, which is great. A world-beating set of client benefits because the name second to none. We do have to be second to none. That includes up to some crazy stuff such as our partnership with Hyperlife in London. We are the only bank currently in existence that can put our clients in a Lamborghini on day one. They provide ride hailing and supercars in London. It's incredible. That's the kind of echelon we're going for. Private concierge as well, which is perfectly incredible. Added on to that, then we have an entire ecosystem that we're building up now of specialized and more heavily regulated financial services from private banks that plug into the back end of 220. The entire idea is to have a private banker in your pocket, the person who assists you, that kind of professionalism, that kind of level of service in your pocket. Simple as that.
Wow, unbelievable. And you're doing this with how many people? Like what is the stage of the company right now?
So there's 13 of us in total so far, building up. Don't get me wrong, we're early stage. It takes a hell of a long time to build a private bank, so early stage takes a little while. But 13 of us so far, a huge number of developers in there as well, including amongst us, then we've got Tim Hyde, who's an incredibly capable marketer formerly out of Revolut as well. And of course, we're building up the directors board now. We've been very lucky to bring on board good guidance from the Chief Operating Officer of Standard Chartered out of the UAE, which is great, and Angela Knight. So
Wow.
we're building up slowly now, but it's pretty incredible the kind of talent we've been able to pull together.
You're looking for more investment, or what is the stage of the raising money?
So for us, of course, I think every single business in the world never had a fun time with COVID. The fun story for us is, so we were very luckily awarded the top 50 award, top 50 startups to invest in for Switzerland award by Bilan, the magazine over here for business. That was back in February. Really fun one for us. That is exactly my kind of event. That was a lovely meetup in the middle of Lausanne, a number of Genovese bankers that would be joining us as well from the local region, a few Swiss bankers, a lot of people who understand exactly our concept. Because I think private banking naturally gravitates towards Switzerland. It's a good agglomeration. It's like if you mention chocolate, you come to Switzerland for the best stuff too. Now for that, I would have put on my finest little suit. I could have polished up a little bit better than today, shaken the right hands and done some good business. That was a week before the COVID lockdown hit. Exactly. So fun times for us, but it has kicked back some parts of development. Of course, I think everyone was worried about the world of COVID, but it hasn't pushed us back. It's given us a great time to make sure that we've been able to, of course, find the right investors for us and to have that kind of lean scale up that, let's be honest, fintech is sometimes lacking. Let's be honest, sometimes it does seem like a bit of a money dumpster fire, the way that some of these companies go through money. But for us, we've been very lean, very agile. We're used to remote working as well. We have a very diverse team across Europe. So it's not been a huge fundamental shift for us. But of course, finding the right time to hit the market is also one of those core things, because it would probably be a bit of a kick in the teeth to quite a lot of the market to start launching when people are having significant considerations about where the money is. For us now, as we're starting to find our feet again, as some markets start to reopen, of course, it's a better time for people to actually have the time and the presence of mind to really consider those kind of decisions. So for us, we're looking into Q1 2021 for our first initial launches as well.
Yes, and you're building a brand, and I'm looking. I mean, I was curious about what you do just because of the website and how things look like. I don't know. I think I saw a card that you got right about to launch, very special one. Tell me a little bit about building the brand, because it seems like you really care about all the details, and this
Yeah.
matters.
This is the thing for me. I think brand is uniquely important, particularly when you're catering to our kind of clientele as well. And it's a uniquely Swiss kind of flavor that we've added onto it. I was very lucky to have that kind of experience back here as well. When you're catering to the retail mass market and you're focused on fees, you can get away with a lot of branding slip-ups. But for us, we're catering incredibly premium services. You couldn't see Patek Philippe making mistakes, and it couldn't be drawn in crayon, especially not to sell something of that quality. And that's the kind of brand that we're ascribing ourselves to. We're taking on trillion-dollar institutions on a daily basis. We have to be up there in quality, and we have to beat them in cost and service. So brand for us was uniquely important. That's why we pulled on great branding team called Noir, based in the UK, who've done some incredible work for us so far. Of course, it comes down to even the basic things, because when you interact with a luxury brand, every single element of that interaction should feel luxury. So we've designed that not only through the application as well, the way that we visually present ourselves also, but the card. I think it's almost a redundancy these days to think about the world of, having a physical card. Let's be honest, most people use Apple Pay, Google Pay, as you might do. It's a pretty common feature, but for me, I like the idea of a traditional step back, just to have something that's beautiful to interact with, a physical interaction point. Because as nice as I can make the app, there's nothing that sounds quite so good as when you start clanging that metal card. It's just to play with it. It's textile to it. It's a beautiful thing. We have some good brand ideas, of course, on the initial launches for that as well. A personal inspiration, if you let me spiral into a bit of a story here,
Yeah, of course.
is what we're trying to do for the world of banking is uniquely Swiss, mainly because it focuses around a very Swiss story. So Switzerland itself, back in 1960, obviously uniquely positioned in the world of providing watches, as an example. 1960, you start to see an incredible revolution going on in Japan when they find out quartz is piezoelectric, and you can start telling the time very quickly. Now, all of these artisans who are making watches across Switzerland, beautiful luxury pieces, suddenly have to compete with Japanese companies turning out watches that are $50. Basically what we see in banking today. Old world banking got smashed with something that's a bit cheaper, a bit easier for the mass market. What did Switzerland do? Well, what Switzerland did, in particular Audemars Piguet hired a guy called Gerald Genter, one of the finest designers in all of history, particularly amongst watches. Anyone who loves watches here have a great flavor for or an understanding about what Gerald Genta did. Gerald Genta, instead of saying that they watchmakers should compete, as some Swiss watchmakers did, which they then later failed, they should embrace what they're better at. They should embrace their idea of luxury and change that core selling proposition. So he worked for Audemars Piguet initially, and he designed what then became the world's most expensive watch. He designed a piece that wasn't about telling the time, it was about telling everyone else who you were and identifying you as a certain select person within a community. He didn't even sell them initially. He restricted who was even able to wear the watch to, I believe, the Shah of Iran, and I believe, if I am mistaken, please forgive me, I believe it might have been King Zod of Albania at the time as well, the man who's famously turned down for a Bugatti. And after that, there was such a circle of hype that rotated around a watch that people couldn't have, the thing that people couldn't get, the Veblen effect that was then initiated. Now, for me, what I see in the world of banking is very similar. After he created and refined Audemars Piguet to become one of the most famous brands of all time now, everyone and every single rapper you might see will be wanting or owns an Audemars Piguet. They're a beautiful piece of art themselves. What I see in the world of banking is companies like Monzo and Revolut have taken an axe to what used to be a very traditional, very simple business, a bit of an artisan's business in the world of Switzerland. For me, what I want to do is refine exactly what Switzerland is best at, that kind of quality, that service level, and that attention to detail. And that's what we're trying to do with 220. And if ever I could ever be considered or compared to Gerald Genta in banking, that would be my ultimate achievement.
Unbelievable. You know, we had the FinTech Nation Summit, and one of the talks that I liked, because I interviewed all more than 50 CEOs and founders of banks and neobanks all over the world. One of them was Ricky from Sync in the UK, and he came from Revolut, but he has so much emphasis on design when he talked to me, and yeah, he said you can get the same Apple product in a cheap bag, you know, but there is a reason why you don't, and there is a reason why you have this certain expectancy to get something in that level.
Exactly.
And here on your product, I saw it from first impression. That's so important. Like, this is my feedback to you. I was like, and I forward the link to serious people who knows one thing or two in the banking and the private banking, and all of them wanted to know more. All of them wanted to connect. And I'm so happy that we have you here on the summit so people can see you. This is inspiring. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the feedback here.
We're trying to pump some people up, definitely. I think the fun thing for us is that right now, I'm a firm believer in the opportunity that fintech presents and the way they can take on the world of banking. I just think that people aren't hitting the banks where it hurts. I think if we're looking at the market dynamics now, if we're thinking about why, say, RBS, after their failed metals attempt, didn't try and buy one of the neobanks, or why any other incumbent bank hasn't yet bought one of these neobanks out, it's because they're not hitting them where it hurts. The average account values across the board right now are £250. The balance sheet that these guys are taking off the big banks is tiny. Right now, most of these banks are actually smaller in size than some of the clients that are down the road at UBS. As an example, Monzo last year, their entire balance sheet of deposits was less than the minimum entry value of just 47 JP Morgan private banking clients. Right now, the thing that these banks don't understand, these challengers don't understand, is that they have to be taking on the banks on home turf. If you don't bring the fight to them properly, there's never going to be any true competition. Because right now you're taking loss-making customers off the books. The small ones, small account values who aren't taking out the big value loans. It's a useful product. They've created beautiful products, but you've got to take a bit of fight to them. You know, if you're going to set yourself up for a challenge, go for the big one, at least. Go for the home run. Take the big one. So that's our kind of aim as well. We're going for the higher value of the market and what they believe to be the last safe haven for banking, the last piece that would really be challenged. And that's where we want to push the knife in, to be honest. Because once you start getting the competition there, that's when true scale opens up, particularly in the world of balance sheet.
Amazing. Wow, I have so many questions. Other markets that you think of? Also, we can talk about open banking in the UK and other things, but just lead us through what is the bigger vision again of the company, and of course, I want to ask you also about the name How did you come up with the
Mhm.
name? So
Mhm.
answer these questions and we will talk freely.
First one, there's a fun dynamic about the world of private banking, and that is, of course, the privacy, which is a little bit too intense. The Americans cracked that egg open with FATCA, but apart from that, of course, there's the nature that these companies are quite private. There is a lot of them as well. Even the largest market player only has a 5% market share. But to be quite frank with you, also, we're talking about a $360 trillion global market. It's the world's largest market. It's wealth, it's asset owning. It's nearly everything that you can touch or feel is owned. Um, with that in mind, what you find with a lot of these companies, because they're all so broken up, a lot of them focus on niche plays, and they're all actually rather small in terms of their own size. So what you'll see is there might be, say, in Hamburg, there are a number of private family offices that deal specifically with financial solutions for the sons of shipping magnates in trade finance, as an example. There might be those who focus on structured derivatives and structured products as a form of investment advice. There might be execution only brokers over this side. There might then also be full financial planning hubs that don't actually sell the assets. It's a very odd and disjointed market with a lot of core specialisms and a lot of bulk. And all of them are covering a huge amount of ground, and often a number of clients are connected into a large set of providers. Now, with that in mind, none of them are even that competent at actually getting out any kind of digital platform to make it easier for their clients to use it. Now, for us, do I want to go out and smash apart every single 0.01% of market share and try and create myself to dominate in their niches? No, that'd be ridiculous. You'd need hundreds of trillions of dollars to smash it all to pieces. And I trust in them to be able to compete to some level. However, can they provide any kind of digital client interaction, or can they provide a quicker, more effective, and more cost-effective client interaction experience? No, they really can't. For us, what we're looking to do is to dominate the new generation of wealth. So millennial wealth globally. Right now, it's worth $24 trillion globally. It's the fastest growing section of wealth, 11% a year. And the fun one for us that this market hasn't really encountered yet, it's worth 68 trillion now. That's just the value of inheritances that'll be made to millennial clients by 2040. It's the biggest inheritance event in all of history, and it will make millennials the wealthiest generation in all of history. Yet, if you are a private banker, like, well, say in the world of wealth management, like how I used to be, I'd be sitting there. I never saw someone who didn't have gray hair. 66% of all clients in private banking are above age 60. Now, these private banks, when they're focusing on business, they're thinking about taking from their competitors, reaching those clients in that age band. They're not thinking about what's coming in 2-3 decades
Totally
time.
agree. Totally agree.
So for us, when we're looking into that, it's better for us to dominate that space now, because that innovative leap, it'll jump 2 generations. It's like going from dial-up straight into 4G. It doesn't really make sense, and none of those banks are prepared for that. So what we're looking to do is to run the entire client interaction space, the basic deposits, basic investment services, and then to plug into an ecosystem of these more niche providers that we can provide the easier and more seamless digital experience for some of their clients. And of course, we can connect our clients to the entire world's worth of private financial services as well.
I asked you also about the name. How did you come
Oh,
up?
the name? Oh, there's a couple of rumors about it. Number one is the first numbers of my birthday, so 22nd of January, so 220. It's kind of fun. Second one is that it stands for second to none, so that was quite a fun one as well. Apart from that, I had a really weird meeting a while ago, and I told someone about the name, and I was with a hippie drippy-ish kind of person, a little bit of dream catcher kind of type. They said it was an angel number, so it was a number of divine protection or something weird like that. But I'll take it. That sounds pretty good. But I'll be honest, I just thought it sounded cool from second to none. So that was the basic one.
Wow. So let's imagine you get a client like this. What kind of how you build this community? How do you build this special perks or special relationships that some of them you already have that gives you exclusivity, that gives your product and your brand? Because just like you make the right decisions in terms of design and all these little features that matters, it's also who you associate yourself with that says a lot about you.
Well, that comes down to how we pick our clients. Quite frankly, most of the partners who want to work with us are coming to us to work with us quite a lot of the time. namely because we're very restrictive in who we actually allow to become a client. So we have a very small private pre-register that is running for our initial alpha. And those are made up of only those in our network that we can confirm are actually within the band that we're targeting. Now, for us, I think that the world of exclusivity and luxury has changed very rapidly over the last 20 years. It's changed from just paying a lot of money for something into a defined knowledge and understanding that you're within a community. Much why now Supreme is considered a luxury brand amongst this generation compared to just straight Louis Vuitton. It's an idea that you have to understand the brand. You need to be inside. You have to have insider knowledge to be able to understand of why this thing has that kind of value, and it has a social value itself. I think Sohouse does this very well as well. So for us, we don't have harsh limits in terms of client deposits. We do have some basic minimums that are privately assessed. We never release if someone has been rejected or not, of course. We're entirely confidential in that regard. We also don't announce who our clients are specifically, of course, also. We do remain some part private. But for us, of course, we then rely on the network themselves. So, of course, birds of a feather flock together. Same again, you find a large number of regional hubs that are dominated by high net worths. So London still leads. $357,000 millionaires across London. It's the largest hub of wealth in the world. Second highest number of billionaires in the world in London as well. The UK has 2.4 million millionaires, which is quite a fun one to say. And often you find them in very clustered communities and they're often interlinked. So for us, we work on a dual referral system. So for a person to be admitted into the club, of course, they have to be twice referred from current existing clients. So it means that we can guarantee the quality of the people underlying, which is perfect for us. The last piece then, of course, because we refine ourselves and focus on clients who are of that significant value, a lot of brands want to work with us in an equitable manner, simply because they don't have access to that kind of clientele. Imagine, say, as an example, in some far-flung future, Louis Vuitton, if they're watching, you can call me, that's fine. But imagine then, if you want to say run advertising for Louis Vuitton and you want to go on Facebook or social media and you advertise to the mass market, you're going to find a lot of people who can't afford it, a lot of people who don't want it, a lot of people who just aren't really want to make that financial decision, of course. And then maybe out of that 0.1% of the people who you're targeting would be core buyers who'd actually want it. For us, we run an entire network of high net worth individuals who would be looking for specifically those kind of products, who might be interested in that. And of course, our clients can self-select what they might be interested in. Now, brands can either then pay a huge amount of money to market to a large audience just through social media as a blind fire and send it kind of approach, or they can come to me. They can offer our clients an exclusive benefit, say a private shopping day as an example, where they'd close a store and have it only for 220. Or say in the case of a number of discounts, such as some of the stuff we have with Hyperlife and Lux Rewards as well, for 20% cash back at a number of luxury restaurants across London. And included in that is a number of private reserved tables as well. So a number of tables that people can't get, we might have for them as well. With that in mind, of course, then there's a beautiful system that sets up. So clients use 220. They find out there's a large number of discounts and exclusive access to a large number of brands. Brands then have, of course, unfettered and useful access to a portion of clients who are perfectly targeted for them. And of course, on both sides, I sit there in the middle and I feel very proud about myself because, of course, the brands are targeting exactly the people they want. My clients, of course, then have access to incredible brand deals that they've self-selected for. And of course, then exclusive experiences, which reinvents and associates again under the brand. And of course, for us, then we are partnering ourselves with incredible brands from around the world, which does peg our brand as well, which is perfect. So it's a great symbiosis that we have there. Yeah.
So I have great banking. I have something that is tailor-made for me, that understands me and my needs, also focuses me. It's not all the noise that is not relevant to me when I logged into my account with you. I have a private concierge that understands me and the benefits for me, and also the community to be associated with others like me in what you're gathering there, right?
There's a post-COVID world, and we have a few private events that will be launching, and then the community will really come into effect. So some of our first meetups were at the World Economic Forum last year as well.
Wow.
Unfortunately, this year is of course slightly reduced. Obviously, it's been pushed into summer as well, which is quite irritating. But as COVID lifts up as well, we'll be introducing a number of community events as well, which really spice things up a little bit as well.
We didn't talk about membership fees and stuff like that. I'm sure you will announce it later on the year. But I can tell you this is very inspiring. I like your focus. I like that you understand this community. You understand these people. You're coming from these people. You know how to serve them the best. And again, the first impression that me and my friends got was extremely wow. I'm sure you have other surprises on the roadmap before launch, right?
Ooh, we have some very fun ones. Sneak preview will be to look out for our deposit savings rates. We're looking right now, and so far they look like they might be the highest in all of Europe so far, even with no limits. So there's no £1,000 cap. We're looking into it, but we will bring in interest-bearing deposits. Second one is on fees. So of course, while we are the best, we're also funnily the cheapest. So 0.5% on assets under management. So that anything invested through us, it doesn't count on your current account balances, obviously. 0.5% on anything invested with us. That makes us 36% cheaper than even Nutmeg, and over 56% cheaper than the cheapest private bank in existence. So that's quite fun as well. So not only is it quick, clean, beautiful, efficient, beneficial, nice to touch, the card is sexy, simple as that, job done.
My card is, from what I've seen on the website, it's unbelievable. I don't know who made it, the materials. I don't know what's going on there, but it looks totally from the future.
I'll have to send you the first samples that we get out, but so far the manufacturer is similar to the one that produces the American Express Centurion.
Oh.
Of course, we're trying to peg ourselves up to a level of quality that currently isn't served in the world of neobanking. There's a lot of good product out there, but not for our target group. Very niche, focusing on just these guys alone.
Amazing. How can people learn more about you? Get on the alpha maybe, or I don't know, in the future, where do they look?
The alpha is very restricted. So of course for that, that's on invitation only to close members of the network. So that does keep the private banking, unfortunately. For learning more about us, they can go to 220bank.com or 220.co, which is perfect to find us. Otherwise, LinkedIn, I am weirdly active on LinkedIn. And as you'll know with this interview, I'm also weirdly open to answering any and all small questions about it. It's fun being an obsessed founder talking about banking. I found it really odd, and I knew I'd really fully submersed myself when I started enjoying conversations about ECL credit losses under other fintechs. I have no idea when that became fun, but now there we are. I'm true fintechy.
Yeah, after interviewing more than 50 founders and CEOs of banks, I can tell you, Israelis are very honest, and I told you what I think about the product and everything. But I think this is the one of the most interesting interviews I had with somebody who's passionate about it, somebody who wants to deliver a world-class product and service, and you and your team, of course. And I'm sure lots of investors here would love to approach to you to learn more about you. LinkedIn is a good place. So that's how I reach you. And of course, the website. So thank you very, very much. And maybe we're going to do another video next year when everything is launched and exposed.
Definitely. That sounds good to me. Thank you very much for having me, Nia.
Thank you. Take care.